Hello. Harry, Mr. Rookie. Epic Pikachu. Bowen. Splatalittle. Devil. Good to see you all. Welcome, welcome one and all. Stuffle in the shot there. There he is. There they be. You've never seen me in a suit and tie? It's been a while. But I've done it like 6 or 7 times over the past 125 episodes. Have you seen my Twitter banner? It's the occasion. I get to live today. Definitely entertain you, Falco. This is a good episode to listen to. Although there is going to be an art presentation during the stream at some point today. Thank you for the follow, Tiny Tree Splat. If you follow during the actual show, I don't acknowledge you. I'll acknowledge you here. Thank you for the follow. I'm glad whatever it is that I do, you find entertaining enough that you want to see more of it. Or to be notified of when I go live. Just came back from watching the new Minions movie. Congratulations. Congratulations. Maybe we can, I don't have the official sponsor for the weekly recap just yet. Maybe we can make it the Minions movie. I don't know. Unless we can't. I know who I'm raiding afterwards, though. Soul Magic was going to be streaming around the time that we hop off here, so maybe we'll just make Magic the sponsor of the weekly recap. Welcome back to the Sneezecast. Excited to hear the spawn camping situation. I was excited to be in part of the spawn camping situation. Really fun. Speaking of which, there's one last thing I need to look up before we start this sucker. Oh gosh. I was curious if the team that reported us, I wonder how they actually did. They won a game. Alright, boys. Nicely done. You know what? Honestly, to those of you who do listen to me while you're working, I hope this is something that helped pass the time or whatever. I know when work is slow, I like to watch Falco stream. Work hasn't been slow during the summer, but if you got a job where you can listen to a podcast while you're doing it, that's great. And if you choose me over all the other ones, then that's great as well. Do my best to entertain you while you're getting underpaid for whatever it is that you're doing. Ugh. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you're making a tier list of tournament weapons you use because Bagel did it first, getting yourself very familiar with the layout of Sturgeon Shipyard, getting a risque tattoo of Callie Marie tattooed onto your body, whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. You know, I'm not going to reveal my job, but in my line of work, I kind of judge how my days are based off of how many times I say, either just to myself or out loud, WTF. And anything under 2 is a pretty good day at my job. And that's starting to apply to the Splatoon community. As the more I look on Twitter, the more I just be like, what in the world? If I can just do that less than 2 times a day, then the Splatoon community's in the right place. But sometimes it's way over 2. It's a pretty high number sometimes there. News of tournaments that are going on that may be of interest to the casual listener of the podcast, or those of you that are listening at work even. SAC qualifier number 2 is this upcoming weekend. If you did not play in the first one because you took off for the holiday, well, guess what? There's still plenty of time to gain points. You basically need to play in the other 3 tournaments coming up. But if you play in them and you make top cut in the other 3, I think it's pretty safe to assume that you're going to make the top 8 tournament at the end of this here. A lot of teams didn't play in number 1, so I'll see how many teams play in number 2. Or a lot of teams couldn't play in number 1. They still had a lot of teams sign up for the first one. We'll see how many come out for the second tournament. That is this upcoming weekend. If SAC is not your thing, if you're someone who constantly is just like, well, there's no point in playing teams that are above my skill level. I'd rather beat up on teams that don't expose my weaknesses. Instead, I can just play crappy and beat them consistently instead of learning how to improve and get better. Not that that doesn't apply to teams in Little Squid League, because Little Squid League teams and SAC teams, there's a little bit of a wider gap between those two. So it's good that Little Squid League is going on at the same time as SAC, because it is going on this upcoming weekend, Little Squid League number 22. Make sure you sign up for that if you are interested. I don't know how many teams have signed up so far, and this one kind of snuck up on me. I guess it was announced last week and I didn't promote it, but it's coming back around again. So make sure you play in it the weekend before Super Jump number 2, because yes, that is right. Super Jump number 2 is coming up, not this upcoming weekend, but the weekend after that. The biggest online Splatoon tournament, bar none. Nintendo can't touch us anymore, and as we're going to talk about, they don't even care. They're not even trying to. But this is going to be the biggest online event of the year, Super Jump number 2. It is a tournament for all skill levels. It's not just catered towards high level. It's not just catered towards low level. It's catered towards everybody. If you are a team that plays Splatoon 2, you have an interest. You're going to have an interest to play in Super Jump, and there are multiple prizes. It seems like behind the scenes, I can tell you more things are popping up all the time that are getting put in as prizes for this. So no matter who you are, there's an opportunity for you to win something substantial. Let's just say that. I don't know what all has been announced yet or not, but there is an incentive for every human being that plays Splatoon 2 competitively to sign up for Super Jump. So make sure you do that sooner rather than later. You have to go through start.gg. You need all your teammates to sign up for it. You can't just auto-register on Battlefy. It's a little bit of a headache. So the sooner you start registering your team, the better. We'll say that. Don't wait till the last minute. Today, we are going to take a look at what happened in low level the past weekend. Normally, we do a little recap of a low level tournament. And 2 happened, and we're not going to recap any of them in depth. We're going to talk about them in the weekly recap, but something interesting happened that deserves discussion with low level stuff over the past weekend. So we'll talk about it. All that and more. But first, as many of you know, I keep track of everything that Destiny Troops does in my handy little binder here. Every tournament for almost 4 years now. My goodness, we got to disband. We've been going along too long. Hey, here's what we did in Inkstorm 8 back in during the lockout, or not the lockout, the pandemic, the lockdown. Playing a lot of teams. We beat the Grillers in that tournament. How about that? That's awesome. But as I was looking back over this list, and I didn't really realize this, but I haven't played in a Nintendo tournament with my team since July 17th of last year. It has been a full year since we played in a Nintendo tournament. That was the Splat Zone only edition of the, that was when they had a tournament every single week like they do this month, except in doing the same tournament every single time. It was a different mode every time. That time it was just Splat Zones only, no Top Cut after it. So it's been a minute where I've actually participated in a Nintendo tournament. I've talked about it. I've talked about the new format at length. But it's one thing to talk about the format of a tournament when it's a little bit different from something we have traditionally done here in the grassroots side of the community, and actually playing in it. And, oh boy, it's, after playing in it, I got a better idea of what this tournament is, and it's a mess. I didn't realize it. I mean, I assumed to some extent it would be, but after going through playing on both days, including the single elimination bracket on day 2, the best word I can use to describe this tournament series is just a total mess. Now, as much as the format changes throughout the years of these Nintendo tournaments, the one thing that never fails to amaze me, the one constant in every Nintendo tournament, starting from the beginning of Splatoon 2 until 2 days ago, up to 2 days ago, is that there's always a massive amount of teams that play in these tournaments where it's so obvious that they bought the game like 2 days before the tournament. Like it's so I don't know. It's so bizarre. And maybe that's the point of all of this, and we'll get into that a little bit. But I can't believe the amount of times, even after this much time with Splatoon 3 right around the corner, how many teams we play against that it's like it's so obvious that you have never touched this game until today. The first opponent we played, the captain, you can see like how many hours somebody's played when they send you a friend request on the game. The number of hours that our first opponent played had was 15. 15. That's in all honesty, 15 hours is a lot of time to put into a video game. I play a lot of the NES, Super Nintendo Online stuff, and I feel like I've been playing those for days. And then I look back at how many hours I played, and I've only been playing for 10 hours. Like I played so many things. Like 15 hours is a lot of time to put into a video game. However, when you're going up against quote unquote sweaties who have played the game for 3 to 4 to 5,000 hours, it's 15 seems like little league t-ball versus the Chicago Cubs. It's not it's not very pretty. But it's just still the constant. No matter how old this game gets, if they do a Splatoon 2 tournament 3 years from now, there's still going to be somebody that you play in round 1 that has just got like 2 hours in the game, and it's just so mind-boggling. As awesome as that is, though, that new people are picking up the game, it highlights the first major flaw of this tournament format. That is the latter stage being turf war only. Well, I have this love-hate relationship with Turf War. When Splatfest rolls around, with the new format they have with Splatfest, I actually love that. Competitive Turf War, like competitive solo queue Turf War, where I get into a lobby and I'm actually playing for something, where I'm going to either gain or lose points, and I know everybody on my team is actually going to try. It's not like a squid party's just going to break out in the middle of it. And it's like, well, if I splat anybody, then my teammates are just going to throw and we're going to lose. So it's you got those kinds of situations going on. But I kind of like Turf War until I have to play it competitively, and then I realize, oh wait, there is a huge issue here, and that is you cannot KO your opponent. You can dominate, you can cover 80% of the map, and then you're just like, oh crap. The timer's still got 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on it. Now what am I supposed to do? I can't just grab the Rainmaker and dunk it and end this for both of us. I'm just stuck here against a team that's got 2 rollers and 2 splat dualies and is running like Thermalink on their roller and doesn't even have 4 ability slots on everything. This is not fun. And we're just stuck here for 2 3-minute games just annoying each other. They're annoyed that they can't get out of their spawn, and we're annoyed that they even exist. So fun times here. So what do? There's 2 things you can do. As the actual competitive team going up against literal babies, bless their hearts, you either, let them get out of their spawn, go to mid, and then kill them there, and make them think that they, exist in the same universe as you? Or do you just beat the snot out of them and make sure they don't even draw breath outside of that little bubble that's in their spawn? Well, I'll openly admit my team took the latter. We decided, let's just push them back into their spawn and then just just destroy them, absolutely destroy them. And that's what we did to every single team that couldn't hold a candle to us. And I don't really feel bad about that. And I don't think any of you should feel bad about doing that either. It is technically the optimal way to play the game. Is there a chance that if you let them just dance around and go to mid that they could outpaint you? Kind of. But you're playing for something. This isn't casual turf war. There's no squid parties. You're trying to win. And I would absolutely love to just play Rainmaker and just send them on their way in 25 seconds. Put it all in a Twitter clip and we're done and we can just move on to the next thing. But nope, since there's no KO feature in Turf War, no like, hey, you covered 70% of the map, you automatically win. We just got to sit there and just open fire on their little bubble for 3 minutes. So that's what we did. And I assume many of you did the same exact thing as well. Now, the second opponent we did that to decided that we weren't just spawn camping, we were cheating. So they raised the match dispute. They tattled on us. They went to a TO, and I believe the phrase they used is that we were going out of bounds, which I don't know if they were like complaining that we were spawn camping or more so they thought that we got to a point in the stage that they didn't understand how we got there and that they thought we were like glitching through or something like that, which we weren't. The two maps we played that team on was Art Academy and Schellendorf. In Turf War Art Academy, you can literally go into their spawn. You can, well, not like into the bubble, but you can literally just get right up in their face because they got that uninkable ramp. Schellendorf, you can't, but Schellendorf, it's just got that little platform that you spawn on, and that's it. You drop down, we could literally just stand right there. So maybe they thought we went somewhere in Schellendorf that was like theoretically off limits, but I don't know. But technically, they reported us for spawn camping. And you know what sucks about that? If you're trying to make top cut, you need to play as many matches as possible. So you want to just get through it. You want to get your 6 minutes of playtime done and then immediately hit the play button and go on to the next one. Well, because they raised the match dispute, the TOs have to do due diligence. They, it's like getting pulled over. I got to check your ID in any way. So you just got to sit there for, I think, 3 minutes is how much time they were given to. They had to like show a clip of us being out of bounds, which they didn't because they didn't have. But because they raised the match dispute, we had to sit there and just wait for 3 minutes for a clip that wasn't going to come before the TOs were like, all right, we're releasing you. You're out of jail now. You can go play more sets and beat up on more babies that can't hold a candle to you. I actually had a TO from the event DM'd me and was just like, do they just not know the range of your Hydra? And I was like, bro, I wasn't even using Hydra. I wasn't even using it. I don't know what they were complaining about. I have no idea. But you're just sit there and you just stuck and there's nothing you can do except, okay, I'm good to go. All right, who's next? And you know what? Apparently I wasn't the only one who got match disputed for winning too hard. But I kind of like the fact that they did raise a match dispute. In a way, I like the fact that people are complaining about spawn camping in this Nintendo tournament. I like it. Not that I agree that spawn camping is a bad thing, but I like the fact that they are complaining to Nintendo that the format they're choosing sucks. The issue isn't that my team is spawn camping. The issue is that there's no KO feature and you're forcing teams to go up against absolute monsters and get destroyed. It's not fun for me. It's not fun for the teams we're playing against. So the more people complaining about it, eventually Nintendo's going to be like, okay, we got to do something here because we're just pissing off everybody with our format. Now, not that Nintendo's actually going to listen, but the squeaky wheel eventually does get some grease. So I like the fact that this is an issue that is still being pushed up. to some extent, and maybe eventually they'll be like, all right, maybe we should get off turf war so that spawn camping can't happen. And you know what? If you spawn camp in a mode that's not turf war, like if you play Rainmaker and you just don't touch the Rainmaker at all and you just spawn camp just for the heck of it, that's unsportsmanlike, and that is against the rules. That I consider that to be unsportsmanlike, and you would get punished for that in a tournament that ITO for sure. However, if you spawn camp while someone's grabbing the Rainmaker just so you can dunk and get the game over with, that is optimal gameplay, and that is perfect. But in Turf War, there's nothing really you can do. The objective is just waiting for the timer to run out. So yes, I like the fact that people complain about spawn camping, and I hope something comes of it. And if it doesn't, I hope people keep complaining about it until something does get fixed about it. Because it's not fun for anybody, especially the team. Like I said, if you want to make top cut, you have to play as many matches as possible, especially in Turf War where there is a time control. It's not like I can just, like, you're all basically playing at the same time. It's 6 minutes until you find the next one. So you're not going to have the advantage of playing more matches than somebody else unless you can find a way to squeak in that extra match. But the problem is you can't take any breaks either. So you got to get through as many matches as you can, so you get burned out playing babies for the first hour, and then the system overcorrects and throws you up against Starburst or Good Morning for the second hour, and then by the time you find those teams that are right at your skill level, you're kind of burned out for playing straight 2 hours with no breaks, because that's kind of what you got to do to make top cut. So it's not the funnest format in the world for anybody, unless you are like a team that's just going to auto-win everything. Like a Starburst team would, and like a Starburst team did. So yeah, that was day one, and I get why it's kind of frustrating now. After playing through it, I understand. Okay, this is a lot more frustrating than I thought it would be. Day two, however, oh boy, where do I start here? Let's start with the obvious, the thing that I've always talked about with this, and I knew was going to be an issue. It's the format of day two, single elimination. Every cardinal rule of TOing will tell you don't do a single elimination bracket if it's going to be on day two. You can't have your teams come out and half of them be sent on their way in 20 minutes. It's a waste of their time. It's a waste of their Saturday. And it's not a good tournament format. It's just straight up not a good one. If they're going to do this format, I'd much rather them cut out an hour of the ladder and just stick it on there at the end of the same day. 2 hours of ladder, single elim. Let's get all this stuff over with in one day. If you make a 2-day tournament, day two has to be something substantial and worthwhile for teams to come out and play for it. Double elim at the most. Single elim is disrespectful to the teams that are signing up for your tournament. But we knew that going into it. This isn't a surprise. We knew going into it that it was going to be a single elim tournament on day two. That's what they've been doing pretty consistently now in these tournaments that they run. So let me explain my situation. So my team played Good Morning in the round one. They beat us 3-0. However, we got to choose the mode in the first game, and I was like, this is great. We get to decide the mode that they use, and they just get to pick the maps. This is going to be perfect. We're going to pick Clan Blitz. That's our best mode, and we're going to go Clan Blitz game one, give them our best punch, and if it doesn't work, we'll just go right back at them. So we picked Clan Blitz, and they picked the Reef, and Shadow Wind gave us a lot of issues with the tent. However, I don't want to sit here and say, well, we could have beat them, but we felt like after that first game, like, okay, we recognize that the tent is an issue, not because the tent is getting a lot of splats on us, but the tent is just controlling a lot of space. So if we could find a way to go Clan Blitz again and then just go to a different map and try to deal with that space, find better ways to capture that space that the tent is providing for them, maybe we can find a way to get a win here. So we lose game one, and I'm thinking, here we go. We'll just pick Clan Blitz again because the loser gets to pick the mode and the winner picks the map. And that's when it dawned on me. when I look back over the rules and this little rule that says you have to cycle through all 4 modes before you can pick a mode that's already been picked. And that's when I realized we had no hope. Yeah. Beating a team like Good Morning in the situation that Destiny Troops is in is going to be extremely difficult. However, the rules made it even more difficult to beat them because, as we found out, counterpicking the mode is completely pointless. If you are forced to cycle through all 4 modes anyways, who cares what order you play them in? Do I want to lose to them in splat zones in game 1, or do I want to lose to them in splat zones in game 3? Because you have to pick that. You can't just decide, well, I'm going to stick on Clam Blitz until I win Clam Blitz, and then I'll go to a different mode. No, you lost on Clam Blitz, so now you can't pick it again. That's your punishment for losing it. Oh, no. So picking the mode is completely useless in this format, which means the only variable that has any value at all, and as we found out, is completely limitless what you can do as far as picking this, is the map. And what team gets to decide what the map is? Turns out the team that won. What? Whoa. Oh my goodness. Now, this is not a new format just for this. This was the format last week. And shame on me for not paying fully attention last week and recognizing this flaw. But the flaw has now been exposed for everyone to see that Nintendo has absolutely no idea how to run a tournament with a counterpick format. Oh my gosh. Now, the purpose of a counterpick. Why do we have counterpicks? Why would you even need a counterpick in a tournament? The purpose of that is to help the losing team get back into the set. The losing team should have most control over what the next map should be, so it's to help balance out the set and give them their best opportunity to get a win and help get back into the set after losing the first game. How many times have you looked at a preset map list, like a best of 3 in low ink, and you looked at it and you looked at your opponent and you realized, oh crap, we really have to win game 1 because game 2 and game 3 favors them a lot. So if we can't beat them on this game 1 map, we're in like serious trouble because it's going to be extremely difficult to get 2 wins on a map that automatically favors them in a preset map list. Just a roll of the dice. Boom. This team gets the advantage because these are the maps for this round. It's frustrating. You can't do counter picks for every single thing because then it's just going to be pretty chalk what your maps are going to be throughout the entire tournament. You need some preset stuff along the way. But when you get the top cut, this is why low ink does counter picks. Makes things more competitive, makes things a little bit more balanced, helps teams get back into sets after they start losing. This is the exact opposite. The format they have here encourages teams, once they start losing, to keep losing. And that's not why you see 3-0s so much in these tournaments. There's so much skill canyon between 2 teams that play. You're going to see a lot of 3-0s, but the winning team doesn't need any help to keep getting wins. And that's exactly what this format is designed to do, is to help teams get wins. Now, a better combination, or a better counter pick system, if I were to suggest one, and I'm not going to suggest the low ink one because I'm not convinced that the low ink counter pick is the absolute best way to go about it. The low ink counter pick lets the losing team pick the map and the mode. That's a lot of power. That is a lot of control that the losing team has. Yes, there is some things that nerf your picks along the way. You can't pick a map or mode that you're already won on. But being able to control both the map and the mode is pretty huge. I like what Reddit did to some extent, the Reddit tournament at the beginning of the year, where counterpicks was more of a collaboration between the 2 teams. I think ideally, and I haven't really seen this done because you can't really do it outside of a LAN but I think the ideal perfect world counterpick format would be losing team picks the mode, winning team eliminates like 2 or 3 maps for that mode. Like, okay, losing team, you pick Rainmaker. All right, winning team, here are the 6 Rainmaker maps. You get to eliminate 2 of them. Okay, losing team, here are the 2 maps that got eliminated. Here's the 4 that are left. You get to pick the map based off of these 4. That way, the losing team still has control over both the map and the mode, but the winning team still gets a little bit of an input. It's more of a collaboration between the 2 teams. You can't do that online because it'll take way too long to figure all that out in a Battlefy chat when you got to have a conversation, like 3 lines of conversation between 2 teams. Also, still with low ink, you got people that still to this day make illegal counter picks, and they're not doing it on purpose. They just don't realize, oh, right, I forgot. I already won on Splat Zone. So, like, people can't handle the counter pick system we got in low ink already. Making it more complicated is not going to help things fly across the board. That's why I say that counter pick format I mentioned would be perfect for a LAN. Be perfect for a LAN because you got a TO or pool captain right there at your station. You guys got a minute. What mode do you want? All right, you guys got 30 seconds. What modes are you eliminating, or what maps are you eliminating? Okay, here's the maps you get to pick. You got 30 seconds. Pick a map. Go. Boom. You get it done. It's a lot easier to do it with a person there guiding you along the way instead of just hoping the 2 teams in Gamma Bracket can figure it out in a timely manner to where this tournament isn't dragging on just to get to that 3-0 that we all know is coming anyways. That would be better. Nintendo wouldn't do it, though. And, well, instead, there's another little feature that Nintendo has in their counter pick that makes it even worse that I haven't even talked about yet. You can't pick a mode you already played on. You got to cycle through all 4 of them. It turns out, you know that how the winning team gets to pick a map? Well, it turns out they're not nerfed on what map they get to pick at all. You can pick the same map over and over and over again if you feel so inclined to do so. This was kind of pointed out. I went back and watched the stream because I didn't watch it live, so I went back and watched the set. Super P versus Cherry Limeade. And before the set started, Jordan Kent was talking about the rules for counter picks. And he was like, if you want to pick Walleye Warehouse 5 times in a row, you can do that. And just kind of chuckled like, of course, nobody would pick the same map over and over again. But at least you're acknowledging the flaw in the system here. Well, what happened? Super P decided, wouldn't it be funny if we just stayed on Sturgeon Shipyard the entire time? And I'm convinced that they just did that for the lulz. Okay, so like Jordan Kent set up Zach. It was like, Zach, why do you think they're picking the same map? And Zach gave the appropriate answer, which is, oh, well, they're winning on this map, so they feel like they're going to keep winning there if they keep picking it. But the real reason they picked that map that we all know, whether they admit it or not, is because the rules say they can, and they think it'd be really hilarious if they just did it and got away with it, which they did, and made Nintendo look like total jackasses with about 1,000+ people watching live. That is, oh my gosh, as if being able to control the map wasn't bad enough. But you get to just pick you get to pick the same map over and over again if you feel like it. There's so much control if you win. And it just further highlights how ridiculous this whole thing is. But why is it ridiculous, though? Why are these rules the way that they are? Why is the counterpicking so jank? Why is it turf war? Why is this tournament purposely bad? There's a reason for it. There is an actual reason for it. I haven't seen this in writing. This hasn't been confirmed to me by a source, but just gleaning from what I'm seeing here. The reason the tournament is the way that it is something I've been saying to you guys for about 125 episodes now. This tournament that Nintendo makes is not for you, the competitive player. Those idiots in chat right now, Nintendo did not make this tournament with you in mind because you are not the target market for this tournament. You already got the game. You're already sinking 3,000 to 4,000 hours into it. You're sold. They don't care about you. They want the people that have not played this game. That team I mentioned, that their captain had 15 hours, that is why they make this tournament. It's for the casuals. Everything is built around that. The casuals love the Turf War format until they realize the spawn camping's a thing. The stream is made for people that likely don't really understand what they're saying. They got two of the best commentators in the scene up there alongside Jordan Kent, but you understand they're kind of nerfed in what the commentators can say. They can't just go up there and like say what they would normally say. Like they understand that their audience is likely seeing some of these things for the first time, and they spend a lot of time explaining, here's what this weapon does, here's what this sub does, here's why this special is important, here's how this mode works, like here's what this map is. Like they're explaining this to people assuming their audience doesn't really know what's going on, whereas somebody else like in a grassroots community, you would talk like your audience already knows what's happening. That's what Smash Brothers does. It took me a couple of years to figure out, like, understand the language the commentators were using in Smash Brothers Melee, because I couldn't really keep up. And now I'm finally, after 2 years, I can keep up with what they're saying. But they're not stopping and being like, that was a nice nair. A nair is when you are in the neutral and you use an air attack. Like, no, they're just blazing right through it because they expect you to keep up. They can't do that with this commentary. So it's designed for the casuals as well. And why do you have to cycle through all four of the modes? It's because they want all four modes on stream. They don't want the stream to just be nothing but splat zones at Art Academy and Mako Mart. They want to force you to at least go Art Academy, Rainmaker, Art Academy, Clan Blitz, Art Academy, Tower Control, so that the commentators have new modes they can talk about every single time. They don't want to be stuck. Not showing off the game. They want to show off as much of the game as possible, which is why it's ridiculous that one team is allowed to just show off the whole game from Sturgeon Shipyard, but at least they can show, here's how this map is different from Tower Control to Rainmaker to Clan Blitz. The mode changes along with the map, or the map changes along with the mode. So that's something they can still talk about and show off. And that's why I think the rule is like the way that they are. But if you're in chat right now, you know full well that this is not how any tournament works. There are brand new tournaments that will pop up within the next week or so from TOs that have never run a tournament before that will make a tournament that caters to you guys a lot better than anything any Nintendo tournament has ever done. I say that with full confidence because I know the person who wrote the rules for all that tournament, JPEG, because everyone just copy and pastes the rules that Low Ink makes. So that's how I know all the tournaments cater to you guys. We wrote the daggum rules. And I really wish my dream episode of the Popcast is getting a TO, like the TOs that are running the help desk, onto the Popcast and just ask the questions I've wanted to ask for so long, but know that I can't ask, and know that if I did ask, I can't get an answer because all those guys sign non-disclosure agreements and they can't talk about any of this stuff and they can't say anything negative about Nintendo in a public setting. But I gotta think that some of those TOs that are a part of the grassroots community are just saying, this is so stupid, and I know it's so stupid, but I gotta just go along with it. And we all know that if they just take the keys of this tournament and just turn it over, this tournament could be something special for everybody. And we could show people what competitive Splatoon really is instead of what Sturgeon Shipyard really is. I don't think I'm going to be playing in the next one. That was a grind. 3 hours of Turf War Ladder was a lot more of a grind than I thought it would be. But I will say, as somebody who makes podcast episodes about competitive Splatoon, the Nintendo tournaments are the gift that keeps on giving. Free episodes of the Popcast. I might not play in it, but Nintendo tournaments are they're like a bad movie, but you gotta stick around to see how it ends, right? It's like it's a car crash, but kind of want to watch it a little bit. It's a little bit exciting. In its own unique kind of way. 2 more tournaments to go, Nintendo. Cheers to you. Oh, Roundy. I understand LAD are catering to casuals, but how does the counterpick system cater to anyone? It doesn't cater to anybody. Kind of, I guess you said that before, that made the point that I did about how the counterpick system is catered towards the viewer so that they can see as much new things as opposed. It doesn't cater to all, to the competitor. And keep in mind with this, who makes top cut? It's actual competitive players. Like, little Timmy is never going to make top cut. And if they do, oh my gosh, there's no way. If they can't figure out how to get into a lobby and pick a random turf war map, there's no way they're going to figure out the counterpick rules. You're going to have to raise match disputes. My opponent's taking too long to suggest the mode. So it's a good thing that is the case. But yeah, I think even the counterpicks are just set up for the people watching it instead of the people playing it, which is a major blunder. Falco Flyer, true. It's more important to grab a new audience than it is to retain the current audience. And yes, and this is the positive that these Nintendo tournaments bring in, is new blood into the community. However, one thing I'm starting to realize is these new players coming into the game, they are miles away from being ready to play in like even Little Squid League. Like, we always get low ink teams that will play in low ink after they play in the Nintendo tournament. And bless their heart, if they go 1-5, it is a miracle. Most of them go 0-6 if they even make it all the way through. Most go like 0-3 and drop and be like, whoa, this tournament's way too difficult for me. And you feel bad because there's not really any tournament for a team that's in level 15 and 20. And I know some of you in chat will be like, oh, a new tournament idea. I'll make a tournament for people that are level 25 and below. Stop. That's not what I'm suggesting. They got to get somewhat decent at the game first. Epic Pikachu. Maybe you could do a written interview, but redact their names. I don't think they would even be on board with that, and I wouldn't even suggest that to them. As Falco said, just talking in general, I don't think they want to do that. You know, I'm just saying openly, this is what I would like to happen. This would be awesome, but there's no way it would. A non-disclosure with Nintendo is a lot different than a non-disclosure with somebody else. That's a pretty big company that you're partnered up with there. And again, the tournament serves its purpose. It's bringing in new players to the game in general. Is it bringing in new players to the competitive scene? Yeah, but I don't know if there's actually sticking around after they play in like one low ink or one Little Squid League. I think the best team ever to come from the NA Open is literally Feeders, who combined with Shiver Me Inklings to win that low ink with Shiver Me Feeders. And you have seen players that have come in their first tournament and be really good. Remember Kodomo, the team that played competitive Pokemon Unite? They switched over to the Splatoon and grinded that for like a month, and then they finished 4th place in low ink. It can be done, but it's an extreme outlier. That's enough talk about Nintendo. Who cares about that? Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about what you guys actually do in this scene, the competitive stuff, the grassroots community. It is time for, wait for it, the weekly recap. SOS number 74 took place last Wednesday with Good Morning, winning 4-1 over the Spaghetters. Basically a summit pickup. We've seen those players come back recently. Suspicious taking 3rd place there. Spaghetters, the story behind the team name Spaghetters is the SAC qualifier number 1 last season was Havoc burning a pot of spaghetti, not realizing you have to actually put water in the pot of spaghetti when you cook it, and just completely burned it, having to like bounce back and forth between their kitchen and playing in the set. So that was a hilarious thing from about earlier this year. And Spaghetters is a pretty funny pickup team name when you understand the context of it. Finished in second place to Good Morning. I put 1 point down. I put one singular channel point down on Spaghetters to win because everybody put all their channel points down on Good Morning, and rightfully so. Good Morning's a really strong team. But that 1 point I put down, if Spaghetters found a way to win that set, which looked like they were on their way to make it a 3-2 set towards the end there, I would have got like 7,000 channel points off of my 1 point. So that's a 1 point worthy of voting there. And I think the person who voted 2 points was on Good Morning. At least that's what the rumor somebody in chat said. So that's kind of some insider betting going on right there. Hammerhead was won by ABC, whoever that is. Mako was won by Koi. And Lantern Bracket was won by the Outcast Ninjas, who seem to be playing pretty consistently as of late. Minnow Cup Rainmaker Edition was played on Saturday. The team that won it was Meta. Man, even that's atrocious. They beat No You Fan Club. All right, great. Awesome. Hey, a team we all actually know, Squid Killers. They finished in third place. We're going to talk more about Minnow Cup coming up, not to the in-depth analysis we usually do with Minnow Cup, but we're going to be talking more about the format or the structure of low level in general. So I wanted to at least mention the teams that won there, even though me just reading off those names means absolutely nothing to any of you unless you are actually on one of those teams. Congratulations for winning the Minnow Cup Rainmaker Tournament. From the Splatalittle Up took place on basically the same time as all of this other stuff. Saturday and Sunday. This was won by Sia over Ink in the System. Intimidation Factor took third place in that event. Silver Bracket, yes, there was a silver bracket, was won by Saul Has Lyme Disease. Oops. Great. They beat Splatalittle Jr., which I believe is Splatalittle J. And the team that finished in third place of Silver Bracket was Bamboo Dragons, who seem to show up in pretty much every single low-level tournament known to mankind. And are getting slowly better over the course. I don't know how good it is to win third place of Silver Bracket from the Splatalittle Up, but hey, you got a medal of some sort. We take those. Last but certainly not least, we are going to wrap up the weekly recap here with a recap of Friday Night Frenzy. If we can get the there it is. Friday Night Frenzy week number 6 concluded with Ink Bashers getting a 2-1 win over the Shiver Me Inklings, knocking them out of playoff contention. New Horizons getting a 2-1 win over Aquatic Vanguard, and INKD getting the win by default over Acropura, which sets up some interesting playoff scenarios, which basically Crimson Quake and Aquatic Vanguard play for a play-in match to see who makes the 4th seed, and INKD, New Horizons, and Ink Bashers just play for fun, because who really cares? You don't want to play any of these teams, so it's not like you get an advantage from having one seed over the other. You still got to play a monster in that in the grand finals of that tournament. That's going to be coming up not next week, but the week after. Awesome series that's going to be at the end there. And that is your weekly recap, sponsored by, I don't have a sponsor this time around. Let's just go with Falco Flyer, because we like Falco Flyer. The official sponsor of today's episode of the weekly recap streams Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, unless he doesn't, and also runs Friday Night Frenzy. And I believe is going to be going to every single LAN imaginable. So there you go. The official last-minute sponsor of today's episode of the weekly recap. You're not going to Breeze? Fair enough. That's a difficult one to get to. Are you going to Shine? My wife is going to Shine. Splatalittle sponsored the weekly recap in episode 122, I believe. Yeah, Breeze is the one in the United Kingdom. Splatalittle sponsor was the official sponsor on episode 122 of the weekly recap. So try not to do sponsors twice, or at least spread them out a little bit. Also, sponsors aren't really a real thing. You guys aren't actually doing anything unless you subscribe, but I think most of that money goes to Twitch anyways. Splatalittle. Let's talk about this and call it a day. Hello, Splatoon Lily. As mentioned before, I was going to recap Minnow Cup today. I talked about how I had the next 16 episodes of the Popcast already planned out in my mind. I knew what the topics were going to be. I just had to sit down, put pen to paper, let tournaments play out, and then talk about them. Well, now I got the next 15 episodes of the Popcast already planned out in my head. But this one I had to kind of improvise. I was expecting to talk about Minnow Cup, but seeing how many teams signed up for it and what all happened this weekend, I don't need to do a deep dive into Minnow Cup. There's no need to do that. Instead, we're going to work on this continuing story that we talk about every single week, the oversaturation of low level and the lack of tournament organizers in mid and high level stuff. Now, this is, if you don't think this is still an issue, because I saw some things yesterday that made me think that some people feel like there is no oversaturation of low level stuff. This is overblown. It's over talked about. Popgun has no topic, so he just comes up with stuff off the top of his head to create issues that don't actually exist. All you got to do is look at this past weekend. Minnow Cup and From the Splatalittle Up went on at the exact same time. Ran over each other. Two low-level tournaments going on literally at the exact same time. Now, the blame for that goes 100% on Splatalittle. Minnow Cup had that date first on the SNOW calendar first, and Splatalittle announced it way too late and ran over another event. That is not cool. That breaks a lot of unwritten rules that TOs have. That's not cool. But it doesn't distract from the fact that it actually happened. They ran both events. Minnow Cup finished with 12 teams. I think they have 13, but one of them dropped over the course of the tournament, so they ended up with 12 at the end of it. Splatalittle had 13 teams playing it. When you take out the teams that dropped over the course of the tournament and all the teams that have the word Splatalittle in their name, that's kind of a bit of a captive audience that you got there. So teams that played all the way through that are not Splatalittle teams, you got 13 there. So really the same kind of numbers for both tournaments, and both numbers are not particularly good, especially for what we see typically from a low-level tournament. Now, here's one thing I want to point out. There is no such thing as stealing teams from somebody. It is not possible to steal teams from one tournament and make them play into your tournament. Teams have the option to pick whatever tournaments they want to play in. And we've always talked about this. Teams need to vote with their participation for which one of these tournaments need to stay and which one of these tournaments needs to kick rocks and head down the road, because we can't have all these tournaments in together. So you can't just sit here and say, oh, well, Splatalittle stole teams from Minnow Cup. And I didn't see anybody say that, but if that's in your mind, you need to erase that right now, because you can't kick those teams out of Splatalittle and say, you guys are forced to play in a Rainmaker-only tournament or not playing anything at all. That's not fair. And we don't need to be, maybe I've come across like this, but it doesn't need to be telling people what they need to do or what tournaments they have to play in. That's not what this is about. This is telling TOs what to do. A little bit different. Or what they need to be doing here. But the idea of stealing teams, that's not an actual thing that can happen. But when tournaments compete against each other, and they're the same target audience that they're going after, and they go after the same day, they both lose. Minnow Cup would have been a lot better without this, and Splatalittle would have been a lot better without Minnow Cup going at the same time. If they just moved dates, both tournaments would have been more successful. Instead, they collide with each other, and they both end up suffering. Nobody really wins right there. Whew. However, something happened at the end of Splatalittle that drew a lot of talking points within the Discord server. I didn't see a lot of it on Twitter, thank God. But I did look into the feedback channel going on in the Splatalittle server, and I was interested in what people's opinions on this announcement was. If you haven't heard this announcement yet, Splatalittle has decided to drop their skill cap altogether. Hi, Z. It's no longer going to be a Div 6 and below tournament, whatever the heck Div 6 is, on July the 11th, 2022. I have no idea. You don't have to figure that out either if you're Splatalittle. There is no cap. It's an open invite tournament. We did it, ladies and gentlemen. We got one of these low-level tournaments to become an open invite one. It happened. Congratulations. Yes. Yes. And that's the end of the Popcast episode. Oh, wait a minute. People weren't happy about this. Well, some people weren't happy about it. The vocal minority were not happy about this at all. 3 teams in particular, as I was looking at the feedback channel, were very vocal about their disappointment in the fact that Splatalittle is dropping their cap and making it an open invite tournament, raising some concerns. Now, I'm not like speaking word for word exactly what their complaints were, but I'm kind of paraphrasing here. Basically, their complaints were there's plenty of the fact there's plenty of non-low level tournaments that already exist, pointing out SAC and SOS, that there's nothing for beta bracket level teams. What the heck is that? They only want to play against teams that are at their skill level. They don't want to play against Div 1 teams. And they don't really buy into the mindset that playing tougher teams, getting 3-0'd by teams helps you improve. Now, a lot of those topics I've kind of covered already on the podcast, and I don't want to go over somebody said something in feedback channel, and I'm going to like kind of TO-splain to you how my opinion is better than your opinion. Your opinion is your opinion, and you're welcome to have it. I disagree with a lot of those takes in the feedback channel, and I don't really think just because 3 people kept leaving paragraphs and leaving emotes of this, to be honest, it's like, okay, it loses impact when it's just the same 3 people throwing this, to be honest, on all the emotes. It's like, all right, we got you. However, feedback is feedback. I disagree with it, but you guys are allowed to disagree with me as well. I'm not going to go into each in-depth point and explain why I disagree with it. However, I'm going to explain. This is now the 100th time officially that I'm going to explain why we need less low-level stuff and more open invite stuff. And instead of just using it with my words, this is where I'm going to lose some of you who only listen to the podcast instead of actually watch it. Pull up Microsoft Paint, which I cannot believe it still exists. I thought they got rid of this thing. But no, Microsoft Paint still exists. So we are going to give you guys a visual aid with some of the most grotesque handwriting you've ever seen in your life to help you kind of understand where we're going with right here. Now, before I start filling this out, I am not putting things like the plus servers or midpoint or launch point drafts in here because I'm only looking at actual tournaments. What are some tournaments that you can play in as a team? All that other stuff is just practice. Send out queue would just be practice as well. Those are nice things to do, but what can your actual team play in? Let's take a look. We'll skip low level for now because it I guess I should kind of label this a little bit. This is the L for low level. This is M for mid level, and this is H for high or top level. If you want to add a little barrier here for top level, we can debate that some other day. This is going to take too long anyways. Let's do actual text for this. Let's type out what's in mid-level. SAC. We're done. That's it. There it is. That's all of mid-level right there. Now, before you guys in chat be like, well, Pop Gun, what about Midnight Lights? fine. We can put Midnight Lights in there. I don't think they're there yet, but I can appreciate the fact that they're trying. So we'll put Midnight Lights in there. There you go. I wish I could make that font a little bit bigger, but basically it's SAC or the road. Now, what can high-level stuff do? This is basically just majors, as that's going off the pyramid. This is the production value you're going to get out of me. But basically, it's just majors that high-level teams can play in, right? That would entice them to play into this. Now, Z, you're pointing out an open invite thing. That I'm going to get to in a minute. But I'm talking about things that will target specific the top-level teams. It is majors at this point. Now, you could throw Tassel in there. Tassel doesn't really exist anymore, but you talk about leagues that are just high-level teams playing other high-level teams, no fluff, no filter at all. Yeah, that would fall up in here, but those things don't exist anymore. So again, this is all you got. This is why you constantly see people saying there's no tournaments for me, there's nothing for me to do, because they basically just have this. Let's take a look at low level. This big portion down here, this is low level. And what we've done with low level is we've divided this level. There's like so many other lines that I'm going to put right here because we just kept dividing this level up so many different times. It's ridiculous. So let's look. Let's take a brush here. So here's all the low level stuff. First, from the ink up, they're like this portion here. They cut it off from there. Low ink, we're more like right up here, right? We're cutting this off. Minnow Cup, they're around the same thing. So we're cutting this portion of the tournament here. Friday Night Frenzy, they're up like right at the upper echelon because they got like some low ink band players in there. Every now and then from Shiver Me Inklings. So they're right up around there. Where the Ultimate Splat Championship, bless their heart, I've seen some crazy teams sign up for that. They're all over the place here. They're like dipping up and dipping right back down. Don't know where they're really at. Little Squid League, they are above from the ink up, so they get this little portion right here. Do you see how stupid this is starting to look? Launch Point Draft Cup, where are they? Like right around here? Because like they got like you can be banned from Launch Point Draft Cup and be in low ink, so like you're kind of in the middle of that. And this is let's do the red line here. I don't know if this will show up for you guys. Let's throw Splatalittle, because Splatalittle wants to make their thing. They want to be a part of this mess. So Splatalittle is like below low ink, but above Little Squid League in theory. So they get to be this. There it is. That's low level. What a total mess that is. But hey, it's also kind of a good thing, right? It's good that we can take these tournaments and start dividing things up and start making things a little bit easier here. Now, what if we took this, though? What if we took this? Let me get something you guys can actually see. What if we took this red thing that is catering towards, quote, beta bracket level teams that can't beat alpha bracket teams but still want to win a tournament? What if instead of catering to like those handful of teams, they made a tournament that instead caters towards this entire doggone pyramid? And that's what an open invite tournament is. Yes, you got SOS in here. You got Squid Junction in here. You got Paddling Pool, Triton Cup in here. What do all those tournaments have in common? They are region locked. They are weeklies, or they're late on Saturday night to where Europe and Australia cannot play in them. They are separate. They're nice things to do. They're good things to do. But what we don't have in this community is Saturday primetime open invite tournaments. Squid Boards does one like twice a year. A lot of teams sign up for it, and then it just disappears. That's it. So what if we did a Saturday tournament that covered all of this? And all of a sudden, that's what Splatalittle is doing. That makes so much sense that we would have that, and that's so awesome. Do you guys see now? Yes, we got to sacrifice this. This red line has to be sacrificed in order to make this giant red circle. Is that a sacrifice we're willing to make? Yeah, yes, it is. It's a sacrifice we should be willing to make because this red line shouldn't exist. Yes, in a perfect world, Here's my point. In a perfect world, we can find ways to add even more lines to this. We could add even more lines and make this even better. The problem is we're not adding any lines here or any lines in this section or any lines up top right here. We're adding all the new lines down here. Why can't we find more ways to add things up here? You guys are making low levels such a party that it's winning low ink is a bad thing because you're banned from all of this stuff now. Splatalittle or Splatalittle A went from like right here to when they win low ink, all this is now gone and they're now stuck right here. They're now stuck right here and there's nothing for them to do except for SAC and the open invite stuff. But an open invite Saturday tournament, it doesn't fix this. It doesn't fix mid-level. It doesn't fix high level, but it helps create more things for them to do. And it helps give them more experience outside of their comfort zone. And this is what I'm talking about. So many TOs are coming from low level right now, but they don't feel comfortable stepping outside of their comfort zone and interacting with high level teams because they're mostly jerks and mid-level teams because they're mostly jerks as well. I understand that. But the more experience you get with these players, the better you get and the more comfortable you get creating tournaments for everybody that can play in. And that can lead for more things down the line. We can start filling in some more lines along here instead of adding more lines down there. It makes no sense. And this idea of, well, we need a tournament that beta bracket teams can win. Where does it stop? Why aren't we making tournaments that like the upper echelon of gamma bracket teams can win, and then tournaments to where teams that go 1-5 in low ink can win, and then tournaments to where teams that make silver bracket but don't win silver bracket of SAC can win? Like, why do we need to keep making a new cap so that everybody can win a tournament, so that winning a tournament becomes watered down? It would make sense if this red line represented like 70 teams. It would make sense for this to happen. We would need to find more ways to create this, but it doesn't. It represents 3 teams right now. That's the point I'm trying to get at right here. This low level has been dissected and gutted and reconstructed so many different ways that it's created this ultimate bubble that is this isolating people from the rest of the scene. And I understand this. When you are the captain of a team, you can't care about that pyramid. You can't. I've been the captain of Destiny Troops almost 4 years now, which is why my hair is growing back. But when I'm in captain mode, I'm doing everything I can to benefit my team. I'm not trying to be friends with the TOs or the other team. I'm trying to use every single rule to benefit me and me only and screw everybody else in that tournament. That is how you got to be a captain in anything that you kind of do. You got to be selfish. But I'm not a captain right now. I'm a TO. I'm looking at this. What is the best picture for everybody involved? So I understand frustration that people would be that Splatalittle's going away. But when you step back, you get outside of your bubble and you look at the big picture of how the scene can grow, you understand this is the better route to go. This could be, think about it like this. You guys remember Ink Theory? The tournament that Snowpoke made that had connections to casuals and low level, but also high level teams would play in it. And you would get like 60 plus teams that would play in that tournament on Saturdays, prime time Saturday slot. That's what this tournament could be. A Splatalittle tournament that has connections to low level, but is now open invite, and all these high level, mid level teams can play in it. Yeah, one team's going to win it. Okay, cool. That's not the point. The point is that we're bringing the whole community together at a prime time on a Saturday and giving them something fun to do. This could be the rebirth of Ink Theory. And I see some people in chat who were around during Ink Theory realize how awesome that is. That's what this could be. And one last thing here. I know some people let some highlighted stuff. I want to get to the highlighted stuff real quick. But I got one last thing, and this is for all you mid-level players who constantly complain on Twitter and everywhere else that they're about all this stuff, about the oversaturation of low-level stuff, and you tweet out things like, low levels we're just pretending that low level's awesome, there's no tournaments for me to play in, all this stuff. I get that, but look what low level's doing now. Splatalittle is offering you guys an olive branch. Are you going to take it or not? Are you going to come in and play in it, or are you just going to keep complaining about it? I understand. I'm not sitting here saying this is going to be an awesome tournament from the start. There's going to be some learning that goes on here. There's got to be more feedback that's got to be put through here. It's got Swiss. That's kind of a red flag that they don't understand their target market yet. So there's still some things to grow here, but you can't sit on Twitter and bitch month after month about not getting anything, and then not turning around and supporting the low level TOs that are trying to make something for you. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Of course, we'll keep an eye on this going forward. Some new low-level thing is going to pop up next week, I'm sure, because that's what we need. We need a tournament for the teams that don't win Little Squid League. What tournament can they win? Let's create one for them to win. I applaud Splatalittle, though, for stepping up. Last week, I called them out. I chewed them out because running this tournament last weekend was bad. It was not a good thing. But what they're doing now is a good thing. In my opinion, if you disagree with it, so be it. But if you do disagree with it, I wonder where you fall in that pyramid that I just drew. Are you looking at it from just the one little line that affects you? Or are you looking at it from the big picture of how we can help grow everything, including low level? If you want to make low level even bigger, you got to help it's big enough. You got to put some pillars on top of the giant base that we got right there. Highlighted messages. Let's get through them. Gigas. If lots of low-level teams enter open invite tournaments, they'll be playing other low-level teams for the most time. And most of the teams are low-level, so they all have to do is sign up. You know what? I kind of yelled at mid-level. Mid-level and like high-level TOs have been doing their best to reach out to low level as well. A lot of weekly tournaments have been tweaked to try to cater to low level teams, to try to get them to sign up. SOS, with their multiple brackets, formats, everyone wants double elimination. Sometimes tournaments don't have double elimination because it kind of curb stomps low level teams. There are things that exist in tournaments today that didn't exist 2 years ago. Back when some of you in chat were in low level that aren't anymore. So like there is some reaching back down to try to help low level teams play in these open invite tournaments. And I'm not sitting here saying low level teams need to play in that kind of stuff. But there is incentive now, which there wasn't before. Tom J, I think this is great for the community, but it's understandable that the historic Splatalittle players feel like they're losing something. I hope they come play in the open and see how fun it is. Losing what? Their tournament, this was just their 5th tournament that they ran. And like only 20 teams signed up in that last one. They're not really losing anything. And again, it's like, okay, well, here's the Little Squid League. Here's Low Ink. Here's From the Ink Up. Here's USC. Here's Friday Night Frenzy. Like they're not, it's not like these teams are getting kicked out of the cold by losing Splatalittle. They got, you got the whole other neighborhood you get to party with. They're not losing anything. Harry, I need a tournament where only specifically I can win. Well, we've been trying to help you win Low Ink for the last couple of months, and you still can't figure a way to do that. Come on now. So that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. Agree or disagree? Fair points to be had. It's a conversation to be had. I am not the end-all, be-all of all of this stuff. Not your, but my lag paradise. But if you would like to be a part of the podcast in any way, feel free to reach out to me. Socials below. Twitter, Mr_Popgun. Discord, Popgun, #5882. YouTube at 25Popgun. Twitch at Popgun25. Anchor.fm/Popgun. TikTok at Mr_Popgun as well. Is Magic streaming? Can we confirm that? Yes. Magic 8_ball. I will see you guys next week. We will recap Little Squid League and probably talk about whatever jank happens in the next Nintendo tournament. Make sure you guys get invalid username, Magic 8_ball. Does the B have to be capitalized? Make sure you guys get vaccinated. Stay safe. The COVID thing is back on the rise. If you play in a Smash Brothers tournament, make sure you wear a mask. Don't be that guy. That guy.